Let's talk about polynomial functions. Okay, but before that, let's recall what you've learned last year about determining if the equation is a function or not. How will we know if a certain equation is a function or not? Okay. Um, in order for you to determine if a certain equation is a function or not, you must always remember that for every input, so this is the general rule. For every input, there can only be one and only one. Okay, there can be only one output. Okay, so if in an input you have two outputs, therefore it cannot be considered a function. Okay, what do I mean by that? I have set an example before, like for example the name of the students. So this is the input, name of students. So let's say this is the input. Okay, and then the output would be their ages. Okay, like for example, I'm sorry, here is the ages and this is the output. Okay, like for example, student Carla and Matthew, and then we have Arnold, okay, Carla is 15 years old, Matthew is 14, and Arnold is 15. So as you see, Carla and Arnold are of the same age. Okay? And Matthew is 14 years old. So actually in the two inputs, there can be one output, one and only one output. And we cannot say that Carla is 15 years old and 14 years old. Okay, so it would be impossible. Okay, so in this case, this means this is an example of a function where for every input there can only be one and only one output. Okay, let's have some example in algebraic expression. If, for example, we have an equation y is equal to 2x squared plus 1. Okay, so let's have here your x is the input and your y is the output. So here is the input and the y is the output. Okay, let's say x is equal to 5. Okay, let's try to evaluate this equation using x as 5. Okay, so therefore y is equal to 2 times 5 squared plus 1. So this is equal to 2 times 5 squared is 25, times 2 is 50, and 50 plus 1 is 51. Okay, so your y therefore is 51. Now how about with the same equation, let x be negative 5. Okay, so evaluating this equation using x as negative 5, we have 2 times negative 5 squared plus 1. This is 2 times negative 5 times negative 5 is also positive 25 because we are multiplying like signs. That's why it becomes positive. Then plus 1. So what's going to be the input? It's the same, 51. Okay, 51. Oops. Sorry. Okay, 51. Let's make this clearer. So it means for every input, there is only one output. Okay, so it so happened that the output of 5 and negative 5 is the same as 51. But if, for example, we have here another equation, y is equal to x plus 3. Okay, so let's try to evaluate this equation using x as 6. Okay, so this is equal to the square root of 6 plus 3. And the square root of 6 plus 3 is the square root of 9. And as you can see, if we have a square root of a number, it always has a positive and negative value. So the square root of 9 is positive and negative 3. So when you have one input, we have output as positive 3 and negative 3. Okay, but the condition is that for every input, there must be only one and only one output. But in this case, since it has two outputs, which is 3 and negative 3 for a single input, therefore this is not a function. Okay, so this is not a function. Whereas, the first example, which is y is equal to 2x squared plus 1, is an example of a function. Okay, so that is how to determine if an equation is a function or not. Now, going back to polynomial function, let's try to understand first sum of polynomial expressions. Okay. If, for example, we have here an expression, so let's put the expressions here. Okay. For example, if we have 10x, okay, how are we going to determine if this is a polynomial or not? Okay, so we're going to identify if this is polynomial or not. In order for you to identify if this is polynomial or not, I'm going to give you two things to remember. Okay, first is the coefficient must be, okay, it is a must. Okay, it must be a real number. Real number. Okay, so ano yung real number? Oh, okay, ano yung main idea dito? First is the Coefficient, main word, coefficient, and real. Okay, pagka sinabi natin coefficient, they are the numerical, they are the numbers that is multiplied to the variable. For example, yung kanina 10x. So 10 is the number, this is the coefficient, and x is the variable. Okay? It says here the coefficient must be a real number. Is 10 a real number? Yes. Okay, so therefore, we can consider this as a polynomial. But we have to also consider the second condition that I'm going to tell you. Okay? The second condition is that the exponent. Okay, so the main word here is exponent. The exponent of the variable. Okay, so you must concentrate on the exponent of the variables itself, not the numbers, okay? So the exponent of the variables must be, okay? So it is a must that must be that it is it must be a non-negative integer. Non-negative integer. When we say integer, they are actually positive and negative whole numbers. Okay, but why do I have non-negative? Why don't bakit ko na lang sabihin positive integers? It's because we can deal with zero. Zero is neither negative or positive number, but it is considered a non-negative integers. So therefore, when we say non-negative integers, they are all positive numbers and zero. Okay, so the variables, again, the exponent of the variables must be a non-negative integers. Okay, example. In this example, the variable is x and the exponent is 1. Is 1 a non-negative integer? Yes. Therefore, the expression that 10x is a polynomial. Okay, so yun lang ang tatandaan ninyo. Una, yung coefficient dapat maging real number. Pangalawa, yung exponent ng variable dapat must be a non-negative integer. Now, okay, for example, bakit nga ba real? Ma'am, bakit real? Ano ba yung hindi real? Okay, kung naalala ninyo last year sa grade 9, kapag ka meron kang number, you're getting the square root of a negative number. Like for example, negative 4. What is the square root of negative 4? Wala. Diba? This is considered an imaginary number because you cannot locate this in the number line. Can you think of a number na kapag minultiply mo sa sarili will give you negative 4? Kung positive yan, pwede yung 2 times 2 or negative 2 times negative 2. It is equal to 4. Pero negative 4 to eh. So that means, isa sa kanya is positive at isa is negative. So walang magkakapareho. Now, paano to naging hindi real? Actually, pwede mo natin itong i-express as square root of negative 1 times the square root of 4. Okay? Yung square root of negative 1 is what we call the imaginary number. Okay? And the square root of 4 is positive and negative 2. So therefore, the square root of a negative number or negative 4 is equal to I times positive and negative 2. Okay? So, in this case, this is imaginary because you cannot locate this in the number line. So if you encounter a number wherein a negative number, you're going to, it is in the radical sign, you're getting its square root of a negative number, then the number is not real. So pwede siya maging real kung positive siya. Like for example, square root of 5. Okay? So, real yan. Totoo yan. Kasi positive naman siya. No? So, kung for example, square root of 10, so, real pa rin siya. No? So, yun yung mga real number. So, yun yung tatandaan nyo ha. Coefficient must be a real number. So, kapag meron kayong na-encounter na negative sign dun sa loob ng radical sign, negative sign ng number dun sa loob ng radical sign, then it is not real. Ngayon sa exponent, it must be a non-negative integers. Okay? Okay, so let's say for example, we have the expression x squared minus 2 times the square root of 5x plus x. Is this a polynomial or not? Isa-isahin natin. Ano yung exponent ng variable na to? 2. Okay, so check yan. Is the coefficient here a real number? Yes. So, okay, check din yan. Kaya lang, ito, ano magiging exponent nito? Kapag kasi sinabi natin, kasi nasa loob siya ng radical sign, di ba? So, kapag kasi sinabi natin square root of x, this is the same as x raised to 1/2. Naalala ninyo? Yung rational exponent, kung paano siya i-express in radical expression. This is actually the index. Here, you're getting the square root, and 1 is actually the exponent of the variable. Ngayon, check nyo. Is this a non-negative integer? Of course not, because this is a fraction. No, dapat whole number. So, therefore, this is not a polynomial. Pero kung nasa labas yung x, okay, like let's say for example, ganyang example din. Okay? Ganyang example din, x squared minus 2 times square root of 5 and then x plus x. Okay? Kapag ganyan, ang exponent naman ng x dito is 1. No? Hindi, wala naman siya dun sa loob ng radical sign eh. So, therefore, this is a polynomial expression. Okay? Ngayon, kung ang nangyari naman is, this is x squared minus 2 times the square root of negative 5 and then x plus x. As you can see, yung numerical coefficient nitong x is not a real number. Therefore, this is also not a polynomial. Ganun lang kadali. So, yun lang yung tatandaan ninyo when dealing with, when you want to identify polynomial and polynomial expression from non-polynomial expression. Okay, let's have another example. What if we have negative 2020 x? Is it a polynomial? Yes. Kasi yung coefficient niya, check mo. Yes, it is real. And the exponent of the variable is a non-negative whole number. Therefore, this is a polynomial. Okay. If, for example, we have x raised to 3 over 2 plus 3x plus 1. Okay, so as you can see, this is a fraction. Therefore, we cannot consider this as a polynomial expression. Paano naman kung 1 over x squared plus 2 over x cubed plus 3 over x to the 4th? Okay, check natin. Puro real numbers yung numerical coefficient, no? So, okay naman yan. And how about The variable, what is the what is the exponent? Ma'am, puro positive sila, polynomial yan. Okay, kung matatandaan ninyo, yung 1 over x squared is actually x to the negative 2. Nalalam niyo yung negative exponent? Yung reciprocal nung, when a number has a negative exponent, it is equal to the reciprocal of this number para maging positive yung exponent. Kasi dapat laging positive yung exponent, di ba? So, to make the exponent positive, you have to get the reciprocal of the number. So, that is 1 over a. Para maging positive na yung exponent. So, hindi na siya negative, positive na siya. Yun nga lang, nasa denominator siya. Okay? So, that means, kapag may nakita kayo na yung variable nasa denominator, then, it is not a polynomial. No? Not a polynomial. Okay. So, I think yun lang naman ang mga concern doon, ano? Kung tatandaan yung palagi yung guidelines na sinabi ko. First, the coefficient must be a real number. Check nyo lang. And then second, kung ang exponent ng variable is a non-negative integer. So, that is how you can identify an expression if it is polynomial or not. Okay? So, I hope matulungan kayo dito sa video lesson na ginawa ko.